Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to RimWorld Ye Olde Knights, Part 17. It's been a while, ladies and gentlemen, but God, does it feel good to be back in this series. I will warn you, however, that today's episode is going to be one of heartbreak and awesome, atrocious power. To begin today's episode, we will be raiding a massive Imperial outpost. Our Outlander compadres have told us that this outpost has been preparing for quite a while for some type of massive attack on our settlement. And we, being the amazing nobility of the House of Rat, we couldn't just allow a massive war to be waged upon us. We would have to strike first. So, just as we had done many times before, we all gathered in our war room to plot the demise of the local Imperial outpost. Planning the raid against this Imperial outpost felt much more serious than raids before it, though. If the Outlanders were to be believed, this battle would be of epic proportions. Little did we know as we strapped cannons onto our muffalo how epic the proportions would be exactly. Nothing would prepare us for what we would find at this settlement. We mustered up the strength of the entirety of the House of Rat. Every single living soul came along with us on this raid, as well as all of our animals. We were truly outfitted for a war, and that's exactly what we were bringing to their doorstep. The journey didn't take very long, as they had set up this outpost right on the road. Shortly after arriving, the Imperial autocannons began firing down upon us, and we realized just how heavily outfitted this settlement was. Though this settlement was heavily outfitted, it didn't appear that they were planning an attacking force. We realized quickly as they were all coming at us that these troops were mostly defensive and they were easily picked off by our nobility. Unfortunately though, that didn't stop them from murdering the shit out of our murder hogs. The Imperial defensive force quickly became an attacking force after they mustered up the brain power to start chasing us, so we began running out west to try and fire upon them, as well as not getting all of our nobility killed. But we were heavily outgunned and outmanned, and they rained hellfire down upon us up until Newton ended up perishing. Our beloved Newton was killed in battle. There was essentially no time to mourn our beloved Newton, though, as the Imperial forces continued chasing us around a small hill. A few of our Black Knights did manage to corner their troops, though, and cave in their chests and their skulls with their mighty hammers. Just as well, we fired upon the other troops until many of them died and they began retreating. Our mighty Reapers Guild led the charge against the Imperial base, destroying every auto turret they came across. The Imperial auto turrets were something that we had not seen on this scale before. There were so many auto turrets and they were much more dangerous than the troops. One of the auto turrets began raining hellfire upon King George, and Shark jumped in front of him, taking all of the bullets, and he ended up giving his life in service to the king and to the crown. Everyone was shocked by what they had just witnessed, but there was no time for shock as they had to continue clearing the camp before any more Imperials got the jump on them. After murdering the last Imperial soldiers that we found, we began realizing why they had defended this area so heavily. The Empire hadn't been stockpiling soldiers here for a massive raid, they had been stockpiling nuclear warheads to drop on us. Though the price of this victory was very high, if we had not attacked this Imperial settlement and found these nuclear warheads, there is a very high chance that all of our nobility would have died. Many of our soldiers were exhausted and wounded and had to be carried back home, along with an Imperial prisoner that we had taken hostage. Normally I would turn a blind eye to an Imperial prisoner and just execute them there on the ground. However, this particular Imperial prisoner would be very useful as a slave, as they knew how the nuclear warheads functioned and our medieval muttonheads had never used them before. Given the massive loss of life during the battle, our Reaper, Ray Wolfen, decided to give up. Unfortunately, we couldn't allow that, so we had to beat the shit out of him and bring him back home. In the meantime, Weaves would be working on two beautiful memorial statues for Shark and Newton. While Weaves was busy building these two beautiful memorial statues, the king was busy recruiting the Imperial prisoner. And by recruiting, I mean threatening to murder until they became a slave. But, same difference. We have a wonderful name for our slave as well. Thank you to High Five Dog for the wonderful name of Bigler Ditchy. This name fits our Imperial slave quite well, and I apologize it took me so long to get the name for a character, but here we go. I really appreciate it. Thank you. In the meantime, though, Weaves ended up finishing the wonderful statue of Shark for his memorial, as well as a small area to put his hammer, the fragment of Mjolnir. And just as well, of course, we also left room for a large statue of Newton as well. These memorials would signify where their bodies could not lay, as we could not bring them home, unfortunately, from the battle. All of our nobility gathered in the crypt to throw a memorial drum party. It was a real bangin'-ass drum party, and I'm sure Shark and Newton would be here shaking their little metal asses off. Unfortunately, it ended up being pretty boring, but, you know, it's the thought that counts. Now that our heroes had been laid to rest the best that we could, the king, queen, and Lagua all called the Black Knights Guild into the throne room for an emergency secret meeting. The king had given the Black Knights Guild specific instructions to take the Imperial slave as well as the warheads and bring nuclear destruction to the Empire's doorstep. The mission had to be kept hush-hush because if the Empire found out that we were coming in some way, shape, or form, they would have time to evacuate, and we wanted no survivors if we could help it. Not only did we want to send a message, but we wanted to make an example out of the Empire. We came upon one of the largest Imperial bases that we had found to date, with a large trade depot. This was no doubt a very important settlement to them. The Empire quickly caught on to our presence, and we had to work very fast, as we didn't want to be shot at by mortars while holding nuclear warheads in our hands. We rushed to set up our mortars and rushed the slave to show us how to fire the nuclear warheads, and finally, we began firing them upon the outpost. The warheads landed, and they did not do much structural damage to our surprise, but they did kill many, many Imperials, just as we had hoped. The radiation had slaughtered so many of the Imperials, but unfortunately, we somehow missed one of their gunners. A mortar shell struck the Imperial slave. R.I.P. Bigler Ditchy. Even with our Imperial slave killed in action, our Black Knights Guild now knew how the nuclear warheads functioned, how to fire them, and the destructive power that we now hold within our hands. It had finally happened. Though we had achieved these weapons from raiding the Empire, with these weapons we were finally a global superpower on this RimWorld, and with our Outlander allies, we could finally overthrow the Empire, and eventually we could conquer this world. You know, like conquer it, like, you know, in a democracy, like a democratic conquering kind of thing with nuclear warheads. You get what I'm saying. And we watched as the Imperials slowly fled this territory with their radiation sickness. Hi there! Thank you very much for watching this video. I very much appreciate it. To all of you who have been watching the series thus far, I really apologize for the massive delay in this episode. This is stuff I have recorded before the update, before a lot of personal stuff happened, and to be honest with you, it's taken a while to get it edited because, well, I didn't think I had enough footage for a full episode, and realistically I didn't. That was only about 9 minutes worth. Not much of an episode. Seeing how our episodes are normally quite a bit longer, but I thought I'd pop in here at the end and just kind of give a brief update. You know, things have been taking a little while. As you can hear, this area I'm in right now is horrible for recording. There's so much echo. It's not that bad, but I definitely need to figure something out for this echo. It's absolutely terrible when I go back and listen to it, so I know it has to suck for you guys as well. And, you know, we moved into a new place, and it's been taking forever to get internet ran to the new home. I have to request to have a new internet line ran, like from the, utility poles and stuff like that, and they're very backed up and yada yada, and you know how that bullshit goes, so it's taking forever to get that. So I'm struggling to stick with an upload schedule, and just work and stuff like that that you guys don't care about, that you shouldn't have to worry yourselves about. But I just want to give a bit of an update and not really make excuses per se, but let you guys know why it's taking so long to even get any type of uploads out. I'm hoping to get the next part of this episode going. I guess it'll be episode 18, to be honest with you. I think that that will be our last episode. As to when I'll have it up, I'm not too sure. I'd like to do it sometime pretty soon, and I'd like for it to be a good bit longer than 9 minutes for sure, but just however long it takes, you know, to really end the series with a bang and stuff. And I hope you guys have enjoyed, though. I wanted to mention that I have added 3 new mods for this. They have already been updated since the time that I played with them. It's the nukes mod, the retexture mod for the nukes, and then the colonist statue mod. I wanted to throw those out there. That's what we added this time. Yeah, I'm really enjoying those mods as well in this. So, but thank you guys, of course, once again for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.